Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this lunchtime episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Nick Fredrick. Nick, good to see you. Nick is the CEO of Rebar Technology, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about just subscription-based, making billing and payments easy for SaaS-type companies in the subscription model space. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about the subscription model space. I mean, To me, one of the things COVID did was accelerate the e-commerce platform of, every company and got so many people thinking about subscription-minded elements. I know as a business coach, I actually started a monthly subscription type group coaching that came out of COVID, right? So so I think every company's trying to figure out how to do that. So let's just talk subscription if we can for a second. What is, just talk about the science and the art behind the subscription model philosophy.
Yeah, you just framed it up pretty good right there. It is both an art and a science simultaneously, for sure. So I've been in subscription for almost 20 years now. First on the merchant side of things, running billing operations for a fairly large organization, and now on the service provider end of things. And in terms of the science side of it, it's very data driven, right? We're billing customers, we're processing payments. You're constantly looking at data and trying to optimize the different ways that you can ensure that you're capturing as much revenue as you can, keeping the customers, the hard-earned customers that you went out and got in the first place, and then, continuing to service them. I think the art side comes in a lot of different ways. When you're marketing to customers and getting them to make that commitment to enrolling in a subscription product, to then being able to, keep them, drive value and loyalty over time, to keep them as a subscriber. And then even on the payment processing side of things, I'd say, you're constantly looking at what's happening in the macroeconomic environment. COVID being an excellent example of, people are now staying at home, shopping online. A lot of people lost their jobs, unfortunately. And so, customers that you may have already had in your catalog were now harder to collect from. Some of them may not have had the open to buy that they once did. So,
not only harder to collect from, but maybe need another alternative, right?
Sure.
And so,
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're trying to stay in front of those things and predict, how it's going to impact your business. And that's what I kind of like to call the art side of it. And just adjusting your tactics for, keeping and collecting from, again, those customers that you've done probably a lot of work to get in the first place.
Yeah. And I think part of the subscription model, Nick, is, for me, I'm a business coach, and I tell and share with people, everything I can do, not everything, but a lot of what I can do is free on my website, right? There's almost, close to 1,000 podcasts, hundreds and hundreds of blogs, hundreds of video tips. I give my book away for free, my ebook for free. I mean, I provide a lot of data, but if you want direct access to me, then clients pay for it.
Sure.
Now, some clients can't afford direct access to me. So I created a group coaching, which is something that can fit into everybody's budget. And so to me, it's like, I think different, especially in today's world, people need the option to go month to month.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of subscription services that are out there, whether you're talking about, digital goods like yourself and those types of education services down to, the physical box clubs that are out there. So they're everywhere now. So customers have come to expect a certain level of flexibility in terms of different payment plans, whether that's monthly, quarterly, annual. Some even go, to smaller increments than that. But also the different tiers, I think that you were touching on there, of a free tier, which gives you some sample of what's to come, but then different tiers of engagement and delivery that you can get. So to your point, the one-on-one coaching versus group coaching, offering that flexibility to meet a customer where they want to be met is certainly key now in subscription.
Yeah. And so talk about, some of the do's and don'ts of subscription models. I mean, you're seeing it all day. And so what are things, what are a couple things that people are doing wrong? And then what are a couple things that people are doing right that people miss?
Yeah, so aside from what we just touched on, certainly giving customers flexibility in terms of plans that they can sign up for, billing frequencies, things like that, giving them the ability to pay different ways. So, you're probably going to go out with credit card, but ACH, direct debit account is a good way to go as well as the wallet services like PayPal, even Amazon now and others that are out there. Customers just want to be able to pay in different ways. So being able to offer that to them. But one feature that has a lot of put into place in the past couple of years, which has been especially effective during COVID, are pause features, right? Subscription is that ongoing engagement with a customer, and sometimes they're just in a place where it doesn't make sense to continue it for a period of time. So they may want to pause it for a month or two while maybe they're between jobs, or maybe they're going on vacation, or whatever the case might be. But given that flexibility that doesn't require them to cancel if they want to stop and then sign up again later, but puts them on a pause for some period of time, can be very effective. Definitely seeing more and more merchants, put that into their offering. But there's again, just meeting customers where they're at. So in terms of marketing, there's the tried and true Google AdWords, search optimization, certainly. Yeah. But using other channels like, social media, of course. Influencer marketing is becoming more and more in the mix of omni-channel marketing that we're seeing, podcast marketing and different things like that. Just, different ways to reach customers rather than relying on just one channel. In fact, the days when I started in subscription, the company I started with, we were direct mail. Over 100 million pieces of direct mail a year was an effective channel. And that company still does it to this day.
Yeah, it's a great way to. Listen, people are getting less mail, so why not? Direct mail is, I think, a great way for the right company to build awareness and grow market share.
Yeah, definitely a good way to stick out. To your point, there's less mail now, so what is going into the mailbox, has a higher likelihood of being open. So it's still a very valuable channel.
Yeah, no, I love what you're talking about. And so talk about what you're doing, because I think one of the things that kind of stops people in their tracks sometimes from doing subscription models is this back end element of it. You've got an IT background. You guys offer an extensive range of not only development, but the scariest word, which is the integration and services of really what gets everything talking. And, so talk about the integration of all of everything that you do.
Yeah, I will say that the landscape of integrations and tools available to subscription merchants today is so drastically different than it was even a few years ago, let alone going back, 10, 15 years. So Rebar Technology is a sister company to a consulting firm called W Capra, who works with merchants of all sizes, retail, petroleum, e-commerce, subscription, and consults with them on payment processing, retail, POS systems, and things like that. And so that's where I actually kind of came into the organization, was on that side 6 years ago as a consultant. We were doing a bunch of work with merchants on helping them find billing systems, payment acquirers, and all of the services that go around that. And through those processes, we saw that, especially when it comes to the mid-size and enterprise level organizations, they all have unique use cases, right? There's no cookie cutter, we're all doing this the same way. And, one of the great things about SaaS, of course, is speed to market and combined with economies of scale, right? Because you're not building a system from the ground up every time. So that's one of the great things that everybody loves about SaaS. Yeah. But when you start becoming a larger organization, you may be more complicated than that SaaS provider is able to accommodate. And what we kept seeing was our clients, those merchants, having to work around what SaaS providers couldn't or wouldn't do for them. So when we created our company, we are trying to pull from the best of two worlds, which is we've built a lot of this system, we built it in a very modular way that you would find in a typical billing system, billing platform. But we build it in such a way that we can plug and play different components and customize them wherever they're needed. So we put all of these things together, we deploy it, and then our clients effectively get a customized system. So in that regard, we're very different from a lot of the other players that are out there. In fact, in some cases, they're partners of ours. We work with and plug into them. But if you're a startup subscription business, if you're looking to run something out of your garage or just getting going, there's a lot of great, SaaS plug and play providers that are out there who can get you up and running very, very quickly, very low cost. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's different about, our industry subscription now than it was not that long ago, is all of these providers. It's a huge industry. It's growing. Almost every retailer is looking for some way to dip their toes into the subscription world. Every CFO loves recurring revenue, and there's more ways to get up and running now than there ever were before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is so critical. Let's rewind and talk about you for a second. You are, you started this business, I think, about 2 years ago. You have an IT background. As an entrepreneur, what was the catalyst to starting this business, and how did you pivot through COVID this past year?
Yeah, good questions. So as I mentioned, we're a sister company to a consulting firm, and we're still run side by side with them, albeit now that we're in a service provider, format. This business has been carved off separate for the other one. So we kind of started a business within a business here. But we started it, like I said, because we saw an unmet need in the market, quite frankly, of larger organizations that want to get into subscription or have always been subscription and are just complicated, but want to take advantages of the cloud and SaaS providers that are out there, but do it in a way where we can meet them where they're at. Like we build our platform around solving their needs rather than them coming into our so-called walled garden, right? And that's really what we're trying to solve for here. That's what we built the whole business around. Our clients tend to be, larger merchants, and we try to serve their unique needs here. So, that was why we started this. And in terms of through COVID, when you're typically accustomed to selling to larger organizations, you oftentimes get in front of them, right? Whether that's at conferences or going to their offices, their headquarters. And so that drastically changed things for us.
Yeah.
Not being able to go out and do on-site meetings and things of that nature. So we had to certainly pivot, just like everybody else did, towards being able to do those conversations online, to being able to take what we might do, in a conference room and certainly on a deck and walking them through our platform and figure out how to do all of those things online and convey what we do and how it's different in a concise, purely digital way, right? Because there's been no other way to do it. So, that's certainly been the challenge. And I would say even internally, right? We're based in Nashville and we have offices here. Most of our team, our developers were on site, pre-pandemic, and we developed a certain culture, certain way of working together, just, based upon being able to, look at each other, walk up to each other's desks. And, of course, the pandemic changed everything and we had to move to the virtual world. And in a lot of ways, and I've had conversations with others, that translated okay for a while, right? You took a lot of the things that you did face to face and just did them over Zoom or Teams or whatever your tool of choice was.
Yeah.
But I think what I saw is that over time, that I'd hate to call them bad habits, but sometimes people get distracted on Zoom calls and people stop using video on calls and things like that. So you kind of lose the human connection, right? And what you may have had pre-COVID erodes over time. So finding ways to be really creative in keeping that culture of our team and keeping those personal connections that I think were stronger and different before through all of this has certainly been the challenge for me and us, trying to lead our team through this that I've heard out of others as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree. It's been, there's so many articles, and one I just read the other day that came out and talked about this, Zoom fatigue, because, how they take more energy because you're not picking up on the personal cues. You have to have direct eye contact. You can't stare out a window when you're talking. You're not used to going to a meeting and just looking at yourself as well. It's, I've been looking at my receding hairline for 1 year nonstop, Nick, so it's like, I don't know where it all went, but it seems to be going. So let me ask you this. the clients who don't know they need you, who are those clients?
Yeah, I think they are, again, subscription or recurring billing organizations that are direct to consumer who are engaging with them, in some sort of ongoing method that have potentially outgrown from a scalability perspective their current systems. A lot of times we work with merchants who built out systems maybe years or even decades ago, and they've developed a lot of tech debt. And keeping up with a changing industry, changing payment methods, and then just an overwhelming amount of changes in rules and regulations from the payment card brands, from federal and local governments, certainly, and then, wanting to go international. All of those complexities that come into billing and payments, they've either had to rely on third parties to do or build out that internal team. And maybe those systems and people just haven't been able to keep up. This is what we do. We do this all the time. We work with large merchants in the digital space, everything from streaming to education, insurance, home services, those types of things. And so we've seen what those challenges are, right? We know the questions to ask. We know about, we keep on top of certainly Visa, MasterCard regulations, those types of things, and just try to keep our clients abreast of what's coming that's going to affect them. And then build, our systems in such a way that we can be flexible and meet their needs. When you talk about going from, maybe an online web-based company to dabbling in direct mail, you might not think that's a big change, but, that creates a whole new set of complexities from an operational, back office perspective to the new rules that come into play anytime, something is in written form, how you handle credit card or account numbers and those kind of things. So, this is the world that we live in. So I would say the kind of organizations that don't know that they need us are ones that, or maybe they do, is that they're having to go that alone. We being sister to a consulting company, that's really the approach we take to every engagement. Is a very consultative approach. Sit down, understand their business, their use cases, help walk alongside them, at the onset and then throughout the relationship.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you're talking about. My last question before we go into a speed round is, how have you had to sell differently post COVID than you did pre-COVID?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that we have lots of conversations around and try to keep evolving that strategy. I think one thing that has always been big for us is being a part of the industries in terms of conferences and industry trade associations and things like that. We get involved from a content perspective. We love to present at these types of things, but then that allows us to interact with not only potential clients and merchants, but other service providers as well. I mean, we have lots of partnerships, the integrations that we have into other service providers' platforms and things like that. That's really where we cultivated and a lot of times seeded those types of relationships, and figuring out a different way to do that now through LinkedIn, through introductions and those types of things. It's been a constant challenge. I mean, there's no doubt we're looking forward to hopefully the end of this pandemic and getting back to something that looked like what normal used to be, but just being able to have face-to-face conversations, because that's really where it's best for us.
Yeah, no, I amen to that. I as a coach, I work with owners and C-level execs and managers and salespeople. And I've been working with salespeople forever, but specifically this last year, really, working with them on honing in on their sales, not only, talking points and questions, but how to get somebody in the door and then walk them through the continuum, and how to ask in today's market and keep on asking. So it's definitely a challenge, and it's a different world, and I think it's going to continue to be different a little bit for a while. All right, quick speed round for you, Nick. Favorite book and why?
Ooh, gosh. What's my favorite book? That's a tough one. Well, it's going to sound cliche, but Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah. All right, good. Best piece of wisdom you ever received?
Don't let great be the enemy of the good.
That's a good one. Define yourself in one word.
Efficient.
One thing every company needs to do today to get into a subscription piece of their business.
talk to someone who's been there and done that.
Fast forward 100 years, what do you want your legacy to be?
Good leader, fair leader, successful business.
Tell people how they can connect with you and your ideal client.
Yeah, rebartechnology.com is where our website is. They can certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Nick Fredrick, you should find me with Rebar. And again, our ideal client is anyone looking to get into the subscription space, or certainly other large subscription-based merchants who have outgrown their systems or processes.
Yeah. You know, Nick, I'm a business coach, and one of the things I love doing is working with successful people who are stuck and getting them unstuck. And one of the things I love about this podcast is I get to talk to, it's like a mini master's class, not only for me, but anybody who's listening. And so, you know, when I have people like you who can educate people on how to be relevant and innovative today, and not only create and map their future business based on what is so important, like you were talking about, the subscription model, and that you need to meet clients where they are and give them different options on how they want to buy and be in control of what they want to buy. I think flexibility is so important. Think community. I think it is so important for all of us to have the courage and take the executive time to sit back and think about what is the subscription model that we need to take our business into this decade of innovation, disruption, and change, to give different options to our clients so we can grow our business in a very big way. So I appreciate your words of wisdom talking about, you know, the subscription model today and meeting clients where they are. And, and thank you so much. And rebartechnology.com is where people can find you and get more information. Think community. If you want to download my books, at johndwoskin.com, I give my book and my ebook away for free. They are yours for the taking. And if Nick can help you in any way possible, please reach out to him at rebartechnology.com, subscription model. Any closing thoughts, Nick?
No, you summed it up pretty well there. Yeah, I think one of the things that's great about our industry is all of the innovative product ideas and ways to reach customers with the subscription model in ways that you never would have thought of before. So look forward to the next set of innovation.
Yeah. Think community. Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.